Welcome back. We're on another Sunday. No Lakers game today, but we had tons of sporting action. We had the FIFA World Cup early morning my time. I know late night your time, and then you'd have woken up to some NFL action if you follow that, and then a lot of NBA games starting off pretty early as well. Like the Warriors played in the afternoon, so a lot of games, lot of stuff happened over the last week. Last week when we spoke, Utah Jazz and Portland Trailblazers were on top of the Western Conference standing. Now they're seventh and eighth. So that's how close the standings are. Warriors are in a playing spot finally. The Lakers have moved up a spot. They're in 13th. So a lot of progress there. Tons to talk about. Let's get started. One team I want to start off with this week, which we rarely speak about, right? Because they're never in the news about doing anything great. I'm not talking about the Charlotte Hornets, but in the Western Conference, talking about the Sacramento Kings.
Same thing.
But for me, I think, have been one of the more entertaining teams. And you mentioned this last week. I think when you picked your most entertaining team in the West, you did pick Sacramento Kings, right? They've made an amazing leap this year. They won 7 straight, 8 straight, something like that before they lost the last two against Boston and Atlanta. But they seem like a team that could really be those annoying teams, right? Like you never go away, they score more points than anyone else in the league right now. Fox is on a tear. He's shooting 60% on all his twos and 40% on all his threes. And he's a career 31% three-point shooter. So he's in some great form. Sabonis seems to have embraced that role of a second guy very well. And that trade seems to be working out well. They have Kevin Huerter, who shoots the ball like he's Steph Curry. He's shooting 50% from 3 on 7.5 attempts per game. And you have
the white Steph Curry. The white Steph Curry.
The white Steph Curry. He runs around screens like that, right? You have Harrison Barnes, who's having a horrible year, but he can shoot. You know that, right? He's a 38% career shooter. He's shooting 27% something from 3 this year. And they got in Keegan Murray in the trade, who makes up their starting 5. And he's good as well. He doesn't look like a rookie at all. He plays like he's been in the league for 5 plus years. And off the bench, you have Malik Monk, super energetic guy. You would love him, right? You had in the Lakers squad last season. You saw how much energy he brings off. He can shoot the three, he can defend. And then you have Davion Mitchell, who's like a bulldog. You unleash Davion Mitchell on someone like Luka Doncic, you can tire him out. You don't stop Luka Doncic, but you can tire him out. And this team has all the ingredients that it takes, except probably experience. This run that they've had, right? They're 6th in the table right now. Is that run real? Is that sustainable? You think Sacramento Kings are here to stay? And when I say real, I don't mean that they have to go on win the championship, but do they make them real progress this season? Like, do they make the playoff? Do they win one playoff series even?
I wouldn't put it past them. I think it's a good team. It's a really good team that's coming together. First, this is probably the first time since he started playing that I'm looking at Fox and thinking, okay, this guy could be an upper crust player. Like he's always had the skill, but he's never performed quite at that level. Gets high value in the draft, coveted asset, blah blah blah, and then it never came to fruition. All he had was space and a cool Instagram handle. That was it for Fox. And for some reason, he was a little too bulky for a guard his size. It looks like he's gone to. I was reading somewhere he's gone to a leaner physique, and he's changed his diet up and blah blah blah. And now suddenly he's kind of rebranded himself as this efficient scorer, playmaker, and a guy who plays a fair amount of defense. That's where he separates from a bunch of other guards his age, Trae Young. So that spot's great. So then the best player, is he elite? No. Is he Donovan Mitchell level? Yeah, I think so. I think on skill he is, because he can do more than Donovan Mitchell can. Beyond being just a scorer. So I'd probably put him there. Then the supporting cast around him, right? I just really like how this team is structured. So that Sabonis trade, I'm a big fan, only because they wanted it now. The Kings, they're very clear about it. They want immediate improvement. Halliburton may or may not have given them that, and if they had to pick between Fox and Halliburton, they could have gone Halliburton. The argument can be made that in the long term he's a better player. Yeah, but not right now to run a franchise. So I thought they made a smart pick. So, okay, you got Sabonis, you got Halliburton. Surprisingly, Sabonis took to that role, like you mentioned, the number 2 role very well. He's clearly the number 2 and he seems to be okay with it, and he's thriving. Which is kind of what we thought last season also, right? Where like this guy is not the number 1 type. He's not going to carry a franchise. But he'd be a great addition to, say, the Mavs or the Kings or any team that could use him. And then that's it. Beyond these two, they've just loaded shooters across the floor.
Exactly.
Everyone shoots, kind of defend, but they really shoot.
Yep.
I like the shape of this team. It reminds me of, like, remember when the Mavs had Porzingis and for a minute they looked like a real threat in the West?
Yeah, and Tim Hardaway could shoot at that point in time.
They had a bunch of three shooters. They had Seth Curry, they had Tim Hardaway Jr. and so on and so forth. These guys remind me of that. There's no Luka level of player. Sabonis is available a whole lot more than Porzingis, even though he's not quite the same defensively, but he's available a whole lot more. And I take Darren Fox. So it's the Dallas Mavs from a couple of years ago when Porzingis was fit, with a slightly downgraded Luka Doncic. Well, downgraded. It's not even slightly. It's a downgraded Luka Doncic. But I'll take that because I think they have better shooting than the Mavs did.
I agree. And you know what makes this team very interesting is that, like you said, everyone can shoot, right? There's no... when you play against the Warriors, you know that you give the ball to Draymond or you give the ball to Kevon Looney. You know they're not going to shoot because Steph is there and Clay is there and Wiggins also can shoot. But you have two players who can't really shoot, who do their job in defense, right? You go to the Mavs, similarly, Dorian Finney-Smith, on his day he gets hot, but most days he's like under 10, 12, something like that. He's low scoring, right? Most of the teams have at least one player like that who's not really there to score points. In the Sacramento Kings unit, I think everyone can shoot. Herter, we spoke about him. Barnes, on his day, he can go and get 30 points on his own. Sabonis, always a double threat. Fox, you're seeing his stats this year. Keegan Murray, I think, also can shoot. He's shooting two threes a game average, right? He's averaging around 10, 12 points as well. And he's not scared. Malik Monk off the bench, he can get 25 points on his own. That's what makes this team very scary. It's similar to the Utah Jazz also, right? In that team also, there's no real star, but everyone can shoot, everyone can score. And that's what's giving them those good stats as well. And I think that's when you come to Sacramento Kings, that's the scary part about it. I mean, on their day, they can just go out and surprise anyone. Can they do it 4 times out of 7? That's where the question arises.
I think they can win a round. It depends on where they seed.
Also, you don't get any easy opponents in the West, right? That's the problem. Like, even if you finish, like, say, 4th and you end up facing the Portland Trailblazers, who might have finished 5th. Do you beat the Blazers? I don't think so. They still have Lillard, who is still another level in the playoffs, right? He has that another gear he can step up to.
Yeah.
So
it depends. It really depends where they place. I think I agree about Portland, but I think also that Portland will place higher than Sacramento. Maybe they'd run into Portland. Maybe.
It's too early to determine seedings, of course. I'm saying, what's the easiest opponent you could get that you have a chance of beating? Do they beat the Mavs? I don't think
Probably.
so. Luka himself has shown.
No, I don't think they'll beat the
team.
Mavs. Yeah. I don't think they'll beat the Mavs. I think surprisingly, the Timberwolves, I think, is their easiest.
I don't think they'll make the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't either. They're kind of in the plains right now. Mavs are sitting out, but if they do get there, that's their easiest opponent. Otherwise, you know what? I fancy them against. I know it's going to be an upset, but I fancy them against the Pelicans.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the same thing, right? Pelicans they have everything, but they don't have the experience, and it'll be kind of a similar matchup. I think Memphis Grizzlies have that experience now.
Yeah.
I think they're a better unit as well.
Oh, for sure. They're much stronger. But Pelicans, because if it comes down to a shootout, if at least 2 out of the first 4 or 5 games come down to just straight up shootout, Pelicans have no shot.
Okay. No, that's a fair call. I think that'll be a close game. I mean, that's one of the matchups I would love watching late. I'm sure it'll go down to 6 or 7, and that'll be interesting.
Yeah, also because I don't know if Zion's going to be fit for those games. So.
You've never seen him in a playoffs. Can he play every alternate day for 7 days? 7 games? Idea, I don't know. Yeah.
I was going to say the Clippers also, by the way, because you never know who's going to be fit by the time they get to the playoffs.
Yeah, but if they get to the playoffs, they still have Paul George, who can single-handedly beat the Sacramento Kings. They still might have Kawhi Leonard, who's still good enough when he plays. So,
and even without Kawhi and Paul George, I think the Clippers are a handful for Sacramento. It's a deep
Norm
squad.
Powell, Reggie Jackson, that squad is like Covington is like your 10th player.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah, that's amazing.
That's a tough team.
Yeah, so just the Pelicans, maybe the T-Wolves. That's it. Tough luck, Sacramento. Maybe next season.
You briefly mentioned the Mavs in 11th spot, right? And I want to talk about that. Luka Doncic is on a tear still. He's averaging 34 points a game at great efficiency nowadays as well, right? I mean, I was watching the game yesterday against the Toronto Raptors. He had 24, 7, and 9. The problem with that was he just had 15 shots because the Raptors were so good. I think that's one of the best defenses I've seen against Luka. And that shows Luka's brilliance that he still got 27,
Yeah.
24 points, right? But the Raptors did a great job on not allowing him to take any shots at all. So Luka had to depend on his fellow teammates, right? Dinwiddie, who did not much. Dorian Finney-Smith, not much. Hardaway Jr., he doesn't seem to shoot anymore. I don't know. I think his injury has hurt him or changed him as a player. He doesn't look like the same player anymore. Reggie Bullock,
Bullock has gone disappearing.
He hasn't been hitting anything from at all. Christian Wood is great when he plays, but he's a liability defensively, and the Raptors were just taking advantage of that, right? And they couldn't play him for enough minutes there. And what happened? The Raptors won a close game because even the last possession, Luka had to get a 3 to tie the game. He had to pass away the ball, and then they turned it over. And that showed that Luka has nobody near his level right now. What do you think the Mavs can do?
Yeah, not much immediately. Yeah, it's hard. They don't have a lot of picks, do they? I think they have like one first round next year.
The Porzingis trade has just screwed them up because even the next year pick, I think, is owed to the New York Knicks. So they don't really have a lot of picks. They don't really have assets that you can trade that other team might find valuable. Do you? I mean, do teams find Dorian Finney-Smith valuable? I don't know. Is Hardaway Jr. valuable? I don't know.
I think so they don't have trades picks because of the Porzingis trade, and they have a bunch of players they inherited in the trade. That trade on face value, it seemed okay. I thought it was a good trade. The problem is Bertans is now another Porzingis.
Yeah.
Another Eastern European guy that's never fit. That's big and can shoot 3, but is never fit. So he's out for half the time. Dinwiddie, very high expectations from me. It didn't quite live. I mean, not to be the alpha or anything, but to be a good squad player and a solid, kind of like what Brunson was for Luka. That's not happening. At least not week in, week out. And then the ones that they did have, they seem to have dropped off too. So the Finney-Smiths of the world aren't shooting just as well anymore.
Yeah.
And then there's the coaching part, which frankly I don't get. Why are they attempting 30, 40 threes a game when clearly they don't have the shooting to back it up? They're not even hitting a third of those shots. If you watch enough Mavs basketball, it's largely because once the other team decides you stop Luka, you stop the Mavs, it's game over.
Yeah.
You see a lot of desperation hoof shots. You see a lot of shot clock pressure shooting. You see a lot of, okay, what else do we do? Chuck it, let's just shoot. It's just bad decision making, bad shot selection. So somewhere, I think a combination of things need to happen. I don't think there's a magical way out here. They're not going to draft their way out of trouble. I doubt they'll trade their way out of trouble.
Yeah.
Nobody has trade value right now. Even if they have to get there, they need one solid season of performances.
Right.
I think it's down to the coach to try and figure out what rotation, what lineup works. This squad is bad. It's a bad squad being propped up by a superstar. It's kind of like if LeBron plays, if AD sits out, what the Lakers are. Bad squad propped up by a superstar. I think what he has to figure out is how do they sort of downplay the big man problem that they have. They have JaVale McGee who's too old. They have Christian Wood who can't defend. And they have Cleaver who can defend but can't do much else.
Yeah.
Okay, he's okay at defense, right? He's not like an NBA big man. He's okay. There's nothing to write home about. So they don't have a big man. Yeah, they don't have a big man. Exactly. So they don't have a big man. No one that can start, that can play well both ends of the floor, even at a bare minimum level. So that's gone. Their backcourt is Luka. Their front court is pretty much Luka. I think what they need is for Dinwiddie to step up. They need Jason Kidd to figure out how to get this team to perform with the. Let's assume Finney-Smith is done for. Right? At the season, at least, it's not going to be easier. So then it's all pretty much down to Luka and Dinwiddie. I don't see that much action that involves Dinwiddie from the team. It's a lot of Luka as the ball right now, and unfortunately, Dinwiddie isn't making the most when he gets his chances. I think this is on the coach. If anyone can salvage something this season, it's the coach to figure out what rotations and what style they'll play. There's no miracle cure, unfortunately. They're in a bad spot.
I have two questions here. One is, let's not forget, we're just like 20 games into the season, right? And this is the team that made the Western Conference final with pretty much the same squad plus Brunson. So is it was that run a fluke? Is my first question. Second question, was Brunson so important that if Dallas had to go back to the start of the season and make him that offer, they would, uh, and they'd still be as good?
Yeah, that's the big difference. Brunson is, it's a huge blow to them. It's a lot more than what most people have given away in the last season or so. They absolutely would. By the way, I would too, because I didn't think Brunson was that important. I thought he played a pivotal role, don't get me wrong, in last year's run to the finals. But I thought it's not that kind of irreplaceable, the talent that you offer that kind of money. So in a way, this is the opposite of the Dennis Schroeder situation, where Dennis Schroeder wanted 20 and people were offering 5, and I thought,
he deserves somewhere in between. Maybe he deserved 12 or 14 or something like that.
I think Brunson, I think in retrospect, now that, what he's doing in his, in whatever role he has now versus what the Mavs seem to lack terribly, I think they got exposed. I wasn't expecting Finney Smith to just disappear this early, this easily. Wasn't expecting Bertans to sit out so many games yet again. They're in a bad spot. They could have used a little Brunson help, I must admit.
True. And also to say that they've not really replaced Brunson. I mean, they have that spot open, right? And they didn't really find a proper replacement for him at that level, at least. I know they got Josh Green or whoever, but he's not Brunson. I mean, Brunson is someone who was not scared of the big stage. You saw him perform even in the conference finals, right? He stood up to Draymond and Looney and whoever was guarding him. So I think it's a bit of both. Yeah, you would offer Brunson that contract and he would make this team better. But also, you could have replaced him, but you didn't really do much when you could.
Yeah, they didn't get. I don't think they even tried. I think they just kind of assumed they'll slot Dinwiddie into that team and they'll figure it out. Yeah, him, and also play Facundo a little more. I thought worth a shot, might as well. Everyone else sucks.
Yeah, he's a good playmaker. I mean,
feisty, defensive, good playmaker. Yeah,
I think the lack of size is one of the problems with him. Right, he's short and people could just run over him.
It is, yes.
Now looking back to say 3 or 4 years ago, where they made that Porzingis trade, right? They got Porzingis, they got Tim Hardaway as part of the trade, they got Trey Burke, and they gave away not much. They gave away DeAndre Jordan, Dennis Smith Jr., Wes Matthews, 2 protected first round pick, and the next year's top 10 protected pick. Now, did that trade really screw them up? Because you could make the argument both ways, right? Porzingis didn't really do much for the Mavs. They made that run to the playoffs where he got injured, didn't play much. Next season, he didn't play much. So he didn't really do much for the Mavs, but they lost all of these assets. Like, they might not be great players, but they were assets, right? Including your picks. So if you had to go back, I told at the start of the season, if you would give Brunson that trade, but if you go back a little bit more behind, would you do that Porzingis trade again if you could?
I think if you're asking with the knowledge of what happened since, would you do the trade? Probably not.
No. If you go back
absolutely.
at that point in time.
Absolutely. At that point, anyone would have done that trade if they could. Porzingis 7-3, can defend 3, blah, 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 blah. And once he was fit and had one half decent fit season for New York, he was fire that season. So I think teams would have gone for it. The tradable assets that Mavs gave away, sure, but really, who are these guys? Like, even if they held on to those assets, what do they get in return? Similar assets.
Yeah.
Right? Not like any big time move. I think 100% that trade would go through and would be attempted. The only thing that would prevent that trade from happening is if somebody time traveled and said, "Hey, this thing will blow up in your face, don't do it," then sure.
Of course.
Right? But otherwise, nope. I think that trade is okay. That trade didn't ruin them. I think what happened was, since then, Porzingis fell off. He's been kind of in and out. Again, this season he's had a run of games. He's playing decently well, but with him, you never know when it'll happen, right? The injuries. He dropped off. Then I thought it was a good trade when they found a way to get rid of Porzingis. They should have done it earlier. I think the Mavs sat on it for a year or too long.
I remember you telling that,
Yeah, I mean, just get rid of the guy. He's performing. He's there. You know he's going to get injured again. Get rid of the guy. They would have probably got an elite big man in return or something similar. Maybe picks. They didn't do that. They sat on it. They got a compromise, cut price deal. Yeah. Okay, you take what you get. You got what? Dinwiddie, you got Bertans and somebody else. Whatever.
Somebody who
plus. Yeah, plus. Dinwiddie, Bertans, plus. I thought, great, okay, they got a backcourt player. I used to rank Dinwiddie quite high. I don't know if it's him or if the squad's not able to figure out how to fit him in, but it's just not happening. So I thought he was a good trade. Bertans, again, I made the foolish Mistake of assuming he's going to be fit. That went to dogs. So yeah, it's Murphy's law. The last two cycles of trades with Porzingis and then with Porzingis in, Porzingis out, both ways the Mavs got screwed. And Porzingis during they got screwed.
Oh, yeah. How long before Luka gets frustrated? Like if you don't add players around him, there is going to be a point where it's like it's enough. I'm good enough to win a title. I should be on a better team. How long before that happens, or will that even happen?
He hasn't given that vibe off so far.
He hasn't. Yeah.
It's almost like he's settled like a government employee in India. Loves Mark Cuban, dinners at Cuban's house, I suppose. It's okay. It's family business. He's the elder son. He's going to inherit the business.
Right? He's still young, but there will be a
maybe
point
2 years.
Maybe 2 years.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe 2 years. I think at some point he's going to wake up to the possibility of what his career can be.
Because
he's also incredibly young.
Yeah, you'll see his peers making finals and winning trophies and whatnot, and then that strikes.
Yeah, I mean, he's young. Let's start there. So it's kind of even Giannis, right? Luka's what, 23 now?
24, I think, almost.
Hasn't turned yet. So for the sake of my argument, let's say 23.
Okay.
So, yeah, because I am trying to reverse engineer the 2-year timeline. Giannis really got pissed off around about age 25. But of course, by then I think he had an MVP under his belt.
Yep. I think Luka will get that this year. So similar, if you want to put it, similar paths.
Yeah. So this year, if he gets it, maybe the Mavs have a year.
Keep him happy for 1 more year.
Yeah, 1 more year, and then it'll start. Because even if Luka isn't the instigator, there'll be vultures circling for
ESPN.
sure. Talent like that. There you go. Like 50 podcasts in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Is Luka
Giannis,
looking
right? Even
out?
when he was signing with Milwaukee, he was like, is Giannis not ambitious enough to win trophies and whatnot? So I remember those arguments at that point in time.
That's crazy. But yeah, maybe this year and then a season more and then Luka's done.
All right. We took like 3 years ago, and if I had to look back at one more trade, and you can tell me quickly whether this worked out or not and who really won this trade, okay? Paul George to the LA Clippers. Now, what did they give away, right? They gave away 4 unprotected first round picks.
A lot.
1 protected first round pick. So basically it's 5 first round picks.
5 picks.
Gallinari, okay, and SGA, which I think is like a big piece of this trade.
Should have just kept SGA.
Because if you give me Paul George for SGA right now, I don't know if I do that one-on-one trade either, because SGA is just elevated in that level, and given the age difference, I think SGA is a better
and fit. He's there. He's been there for how many years in a row now? He's fit.
Yeah, it's just the Thunder decide to injure him and not play him for tanking purposes, but he's there, right?
Yeah.
What did Paul George? I'm not even including Kawhi in this, right? What did Paul George do with the Clippers? Lost in the second round in the bubble against Denver Nuggets, blowing up.
Called himself playoff P.
Lost in the conference final, which I think was a good run, but then they lost to the Phoenix Suns, which I think given the squad they had, they should have won that because it was Phoenix's first real shot at something. Lost in the play-in game last season against Minnesota, which Paul George missed himself due to COVID and whatnot. And this season, you're still struggling. Kawhi is nowhere in sight, and Paul George is nowhere in sight in the last few games as well. So...
Wait for it. John Wall will be nowhere in sight in a couple of weeks.
So, do you think Thunder won this trade?
Yeah.
I mean, what did Thunder do with that first round? They went to the playoffs. They troubled James Harden. They took them to Game 7. They had Chris Paul, of course, but still, they tanked badly after that. They tanked badly again after that. This season, I think they'll probably tank again, but they have a future inside. They have a plan inside. So, did anyone really win that trade, or was it a win-win or lose-lose situation?
So, no, there's a clear winner. I think the Thunder are at risk of SGA doing what you were asking Luka might do, which is at some point, it's like, when the fuck are we actually going to do something about these picks? Every year we just keep stockpiling more and more picks like we're going into hibernation. And then they do nothing with it, and he plays almost MVP level, but nobody talks about him because nobody cares about the Thunder. So that's coming. Anyway. So, but how did they get there? Because they did the opposite of what Dallas did. They won every trade pretty much. They got rid of Russ somehow at just the right time. Squeezed an MVP out of him, whatever, tossed him out. Got rid of Paul George. Got a ton of value in return. It hasn't even begun paying off, that deal. plus SGA, who's kind of the cornerstone of the franchise.
Yep.
Then they kind of upcycled Chris Paul,
Yep.
turned him into a valuable asset again, sent him off to Phoenix so that he could go beat Clippers just to stick it in. And I think the Thunder have done everything well. They are the clear winner. They're sitting on 5 more picks. They already have SGA, who given now that X number of years have gone by, where SGA stands now versus where Paul George stands now. Age, fitness levels, availability, I'd pick SGA.
True.
So they won that. Now, what else do they have? They have 5 more picks. The Clippers have none of it.
They already got Holmgren in this year's pick, who's yet to play. He's injured, but
but he's pretty good. He's exciting. So they're the clear winner in this trade, and that's the Thunder. The only question is, how long are they going to sit on these picks and tradable assets and whatnot?
You've got to cash in sooner or later.
Yeah, but get real, man. You got like 30 picks. Just start playing already. How much more tanking do you want to do?
I would have called Kevin Durant and said, "Hey, KD, first team, you've had a great legacy here. Why don't you end your career here? Given away 5 picks or whatever the Brooklyn Nets asked, and
bring a chip to Oklahoma, do the LeBron thing, and say,
exactly,
I'll bring
right? He had a great chance
to
to do that. I think it's still open, right? It's still open. I mean, that'd be a great discussion item if that happens. Would love to see that.
Why hasn't that happened already? It should have been done by now.
I don't think KD wants to go to small market, but who knows?
Yeah.
All right. Before we close out the episode, we have one question from our YouTube comments, and I would like to take questions now. So the question that we got is: do you think Miami Heat can make a Boston Celtics like run from last season? The Heat are struggling this year. No. The Celtics were struggling last year, but you saw where they ended in the NBA Finals. So do you think the Heat have the team, have the coach? They have the coach for sure. Do they have the team? Do they have a Boston Celtics like run in them? Nope. Simple answer. Their
best case scenario is they defend lights out. That's about as good as it can get for the Heat.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
They're amazing, okay? Bam's going to be fired. Lowry's going to pick up charges and get steals and whatnot. Hero's going to put in a shift and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Solid defense. Okay, what next? Jimmy Butler, I don't know when he plays, when he doesn't. I think it's that, age and stage of the career where it's like fingers crossed with the guy. So you don't know. Everyone else sucks. Bam has had some kind of uprising recently. I think him and Eddie just, held pinkies and said, let's do it, brother. And they started
Centers
rising.
Association meeting or whatever.
Yes. They like bumped fists and said, let's do it. But that's about it. That's their best case scenario. They don't have... Celtics had everything going for them when they made that run. First of all, they had one of the most insane defenses in the league. South of Milwaukee, not geographically, south of Milwaukee on the table or levels. They had amazing defense first. They had 3 shooting whenever they wanted. They had at any point 3 guys that could shoot off the dribble and shoot at a very high level. Create their own shot even if nothing else is working out. No play calling, nothing.
Yep.
They had a center who just discovered, hey, I can block shots and he used to do it for fun. These guys have none. Maybe they have the center part. Bam.
Yep.
That's about it. That's the only thing they have in common with the Celtics. Not even the coach.
I agree.
It's a different style. These guys build patiently. They don't care. So, not this season.
I think they don't have Tatum, mainly. Jimmy Butler is no Jason Tatum. They don't have the second guy in Brown, which Celtics had, right? So
they have the first, second, or third guy, man. They just have a big man that can block shots. A big man, they're better off. Everything else, nope.
Yeah, I don't think they don't make it past the play-in stage. They'll probably make the play-in because too many bad teams there, but that's about it. All right, then. Do you want to make a fantasy league quick pick before we log off?
Yeah, who did I bring in? I brought in Avdia into my squad from the Wizards. Yeah, he's been shooting really well and his shot volume's gone up.
Mm-hmm.
Usually that's a sign of rising importance. Like in the NBA, if you're not the alpha on a team or maybe the plus one, you don't get those many shots unless your teammates trust you. I know it's not a lot to go off of, but I'm going off on that. Let's see. I'm banking on him getting threes. A few steals here and there. Let's see how it goes.
Nice. I got in Dennis Schroeder. Had a great game yesterday. 21 points, but he was on my bench because I just wanted to wait for him to get shooting, right?
Yeah, it's not a bad option.
I'm just going to be patient with him. I don't think I'll play him right away, but I think he'll become the starting point guard for the Lakers soon. And that's when
it's also what the Lakers said. We'll be patient with him. We're not going to play him right away. We'll see.
All right then, as usual, great fun talking with you, and I'll catch
right.
you next week.
All right, man. Cheers. Bye.